Let us spend some time with today's Gospel, in particular, Luke chapter 6, from verse 12 to 19, the call of the 12 apostles. We can also focus on or start with St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. It's almost like a beautiful hymn profession of faith, with its majestic truth shining through all the shadows of the present age. Christ is our light. The Gospel scene offers a profound healing and orientation for our own age. The call of the disciples, how Jesus prepares for it in prayer, is indeed a guidance how to discern our old ways and reactions, how to scrutinize in our life mistrust, anger and negative energies, and turn to God for healing. Let me start with an image of our culture. In a community, and we can think of a country or a culture or an alliance of countries, there are two kinds of reaction what we have. In every community, there is suppressed guilt, past mistakes, retained anger and mistrust. And we can think of the daily sins of people, of individuals, and the collective sins like arm trade. So all this is like in a pressure cooker, all this is piled up. And often it is acted out and directed at an enemy. That's the way how wars build up. That's the way how a country singles out another nation, that this nation, its agents are spying on us and they are a liability, they pose a threat to the country. And this happens on a daily basis. Our other reaction is, or a community's other reaction is, that instead of acting out and motivated by these negative energies, the community or the person honestly turns to God for healing. And this is where our Gospel is so orientating. Jesus retires for prayer on behalf and for the human community. Before decisive moments and acts, Jesus always retires to prayer. And this is the moment of discernment for us. Before appointing the 12, before giving this spirit of discernment for them, he retires and spends time in prayer. He's going to give the disciples name. He's going to call them by name, which is a way of accepting the person with all its suppressed past and in it. And perhaps we can apply it to a culture. Jesus calls people by name. What a positive motivation. The word of the Gospel text uses a verb for Jesus' prayer which is explicitly for the religious act of prayer, not simply asking for something, but engaging with God at the most profane level. We see our Lord in the Gospel on a mountain, and this mountain symbolically offers an overview of what surrounds us, of the two options which we mentioned at the beginning, acting motivated by our suppressed past and guilts and failures, or turning to God, not pointing to an enemy, not blaming others, but humbly turning to God. Jesus is at the top of the mountain. The mountain is the tipping point of being close to God, and this is that tipping point when we can make a decision how we act, how we respond to others, either creating an enemy or an excuse or turning to God. It is also worth noticing that commentaries highlight that the call of the 12 took place early Sabbath morning. In our Christian terms, as if our Lord was doing something early Sunday morning when we dedicate our whole day and life and heart to God. Jesus spent the entire night in prayer. The long duration of the prayer is emphasized by the Gospel text. Because this discernment as individuals, and particularly as a culture, not to act out our suppressed, unexamined guilt and past, in order to not to act this way, we need time for prayer, time spent with God in His healing presence. This is the way Jesus was praying for us, for the men He was about to choose, for their work in the world, for their preparation for that work, included in it for our world, for our work in the world. And this is the base we find our praying Lord before we make these two responses. Instead of finding enemies, finding more and more spies in the houses of Parliament, just let us turn honestly to God with the baggage which our culture or this country, these politics are carrying. And as a closing thought, the 12 has no definite article in our text. So until this moment of calling, no one knew how many were to be apostles. No one knew them by name. But when Jesus makes this discernment, offers His call, and when we process it, discern our past and respond to this call with a yes, with a trust in the healing power of God, then we acquire our full name. And the full name means the potential to be good, to be able to turn to God.